Over the past few days, we've been covering the entire Ninja Gaiden saga, but this video brings it all together, including the final chapter, Ninja Gaiden 3. It features a complete recap of Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword, Ninja Gaiden 2, and concludes with Ninja Gaiden 3. So, let's jump right in. A deep narrative probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Ninja Gaiden. The original NES series has always been pretty straightforward at first glance, but there's a pretty involved globe-spanning adventure with mysterious ruins, demon statues, the CIA, and more spanning across 3 games. Since it's building off Team Ninja's own Dead or Alive, which possesses its own extensive and sometimes confusing lore, Ninja Gaiden offered quite a bit when shining the spotlight on Ryu Hayabusa. As a prequel to the NES series, events in Ninja Gaiden began long before Ryu's birth. Vigor, who reveled in chaos and strife, split Gerdu into multiple pieces. The serpent emerged from one of these and created the seeds, which would eventually bloom into the dragons. 13 in number, they ultimately battled and defeated Vigor. But despite their cooperation, the dragons weren't the most unified. One dragon in particular was the weakest, and Vigor, sensing an opportunity, manipulated and corrupted it. With the Age of Chaos over, humanity thrived alongside the other dragons, and life was good. However, everything changed when the Dark Dragon finally emerged. The youngest of the 13 had become more powerful than all of his siblings combined, and easily overwhelmed them. Vigor basked in the victory and established his empire, and it seemed like no one could oppose the Dark Dragon. That is, until a single human emerged, wielding a powerful weapon, the Dragon Sword. After being defeated by their siblings and with nothing, the remaining 12 dragons took one of their fangs and poured all their power to fashion the weapon, which humanity's strongest would wield. The warrior defeated the beast, but its influence would linger in 2 ways, the Dark Dragon Stones and the Dark Dragon Blade. The former is a subject of another tale. It's the latter that's the crux of Ninja Gaiden 1's story. Created from the Dark Dragon's bones, indestructible and possessing immense power owing to the dragon's soul seemingly being contained within, the blade could prove dangerous in the wrong hands. Fortunately, the descendants of the warrior who slew the Dark Dragon would pass down the Dragon Sword through the ages, with the Hayabusa clan being the most recent. Somehow, they retrieved the Dark Dragon Blade and managed to seal it while keeping it hidden from any greedy eyes. Or so they thought. Present-day events begin with Ryu Hayabusa, the successor of the dragon lineage, training in the Shadow Clan fortress with Murai, the clan leader, and his uncle. This serves as a tutorial to introduce players to the world of Ninja Gaiden and Ryu's skill. But it's not long before Ayane, also from Dead or Alive, reveals that the village is under attack. Led by Doku, a greater fiend, these mysterious forces were sent by the Emperor, who commands the same empire established by Vigor, to retrieve the Dark Dragon Blade. Doku spared no one in the carnage, even cutting down Kuriha, the Miko and childhood friend of Ryu, when she tried to stop him. After dealing with his troops and General Masakado, Ryu arrives and faces Doku in a losing battle. While he's seemingly left for dead, a falcon, the spirit animal of the Hayabusa, appears to retrieve him. Cut to a few weeks and some healing later, and Ryu is officially ready to wreak havoc and take revenge for Kuriha. Murai reveals that the Vigor Empire is responsible for the attack. Crash landing in Tairang, the Empire's capital, via airship after battling General Dynamo and his special forces, Ryu encounters Rachel, a Vigorian who hunts fiends with a warhammer. Though not initially trusting of him, it's revealed that she's afflicted with a curse that will eventually turn her into a fiend. It's already claimed Alma, her twin sister, thanks to Doku, and Rachel is currently on a quest to defeat her. The Black Spider clan, which opposes the Hayabusa clan, is also present and seeks the Dark Dragon Blade for their own purposes. Fiends also begin to manifest more frequently due to the blade. After fighting the Vigorian military, Ryu eventually goes up against Alma and defeats her after an intense fight. Unfortunately, Rachel is taken hostage by Doku to sacrifice her and awaken Alma's true power. The latter meets Ryu once again at the Colosseum and they battle once more, but this time, the Dragon Ninja emerges victorious. Doku reveals that the Dark Dragon Blade is with the Emperor, but despite dying, he becomes a spirit. Despite being rescued, Rachel attempts to pursue Doku's spirit but is defeated by Ishitaros and Nikche, and captured again. Meanwhile, Ryu continues his journey and is told by Muramosa, the famous weaponsmith turned vendor, that a special jewel is required to awaken the Dragon Blade to its full power. At one point, Ryu returns to Hayabusa village, where he obtains the Eye of the Dragon from Kureha's grave. It ends up empowering the Dragon Sword, turning it into the true Dragon Sword. And not a moment too soon, because the Emperor has unsealed the Dark Dragon Blade and claimed its power. Ryu rushes to stop him and battles Alma once again, defeating her once more. Meanwhile, Doku is ready to kill Rachel, but the latter is saved through a surprising sacrifice by Alma, who subsequently dies. Leaving Rachel with her sister, Ryu ventures forth to hunt Vigor. Descending into the Zakron Labyrinth, he fights Doku's spirit and defeats him, but is then cursed, becoming a fiend in the process. Despite the corruption, Ryu retains control of his senses and makes his way to the Emperor's palace, not just to reclaim the Dark Dragon Blade, but to clean himself of the curse. After defeating the third and final greater fiend, Marbus, the battle against the Emperor begins in a reality-defying battlefield. Ryu defeats him twice, cleansing himself of the curse and retrieving the Dark Dragon Blade. Rachel catches up and helps him escape, but in the process, he loses the blade. It's worth noting that throughout this adventure, a member of the Empire's Eternal Affairs Bureau, Gamov, would tail and run into both Ryu and Rachel. He's also in league with the mysterious Dark Disciple, working to obtain the Dark Dragon Blade. The Disciple kills Gamov at the end, claims the blade, and reveals himself to be none other than Murai. As it turns out, he conspired with the Emperor, leaking the location of the blade and even luring Ryu away while Hayabusa village was attacked. Ryu's destruction of the Vigorian forces has fueled the Dark Dragon Blade, which was also part of Murai's plan. Despite harnessing its full power, however, he's defeated by Ryu and the true Dragon Sword. With the Dark Dragon Blade shattered, with the blade's threat gone, and having fulfilled his destiny as a Dragon Ninja, Ryu takes the obvious next step, returning to Hayabusa village and revisiting Kureha's grave. Removing the Eye of the Dragon, he effectively returns it to her and leaves. Even with a few cliches, including Murai's betrayal, Ninja Gaiden still offers a pretty compelling story with strong characters and extensive stakes. The brutality is a core part of the combat, but I like how it's framed as feeding into the Dark Dragon Blade, with Ryu's hunger for revenge and wanton slaughter having some real consequences. Nevertheless, it's also a tale of redemption, with Alma regaining her senses, if only for a moment, to save her sister. With Ninja Gaiden 1 serving as a success, both critically and commercially, a sequel pretty much seemed a given. Fortunately, the tale of Ryu Hayabusa would continue in Ninja Gaiden 2. Of course, as most fans are aware, Ninja Gaiden 1's story didn't immediately jump into the sequel. In the same year that Ninja Gaiden 2 was released, another title, a spin-off, would arrive a few months prior on the Nintendo DS. Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword. Cute naming, especially given the penchant of many titles on the platform to incorporate DS into their names. But it meant even more considering the focus on the legendary weapon and its purpose, slaying the Dark Dragon. Which sounds odd, because for all intents and purposes, the Dark Dragon is already dead, right? With the Dark Dragon blade destroyed in the first game, surely this meant the creature's influence on the world and those tempted by its powers would have disappeared. But that's not the case. When it was slain, the energy was converted into the Dark Dragon Stones, orbs that could provide immense power or end up destroying the universe as one knows it. Even a single stone was bad news. This isn't immediately obvious in Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword though. Picking up 6 months later after Hayabusa Village has been restored, Ryu is enjoying some quality training time with Momiji, the younger sister of Kureha and the new Dragon Shrine Maiden. As she stays behind to collect flowers for Sakura, one of the orphans, a fresh attack by the Black Spider Ninja Clan commences, resulting in Momiji's capture. It's later revealed that the clan is following orders from their sorceress, Obaba, but the true mastermind is Ishitaros, one of the ancient crater fiends responsible for kidnapping Rachel in the first game and who escaped Hayabusa's wrath. Ryu is busy saving those in the village, eventually stopping the attack but later learning of Momiji's fate, and setting out to save her. He investigates a grave where the Black Spider Ninja seemingly emerged from, courtesy of a portal breaking through the giant boulder in its path. Upon entering, he ends up in the monastery of Tairan, seemingly none the worse for wear given the previous game's events, and battling some fiends. After acquiring a strange-looking stone, the monastery is revealed to be an illusion created by the same. He then discovers a mysterious location known as Stone Circle Cove, a nexus and hub for various portals. Returning to Hayabusa Village, he meets with Muramasa, who reveals that the stone is a Dark Dragon Stone. There are 8 Dark Dragon Stones in total, and while collecting them all would result in the Dark Dragon's rebirth, their connection to each other means it's the only way to find Momiji. Naturally, Ryu sets out to find them and rescue his student/childhood friend's sister. Shortly after collecting 2 Dark Dragon Stones, Ryu returns to an attack. Yes, another one, in Hayabusa Village from the Black Spider Ninja Clan. Though they take Sakura and demand the Dragon Sword for her return, Ryu saves her with some help from Sanji. Venturing forth once more to collect the stones, Ryu eventually ends up in the underground Coliseum, and who should he meet but Doku, or his spirit form at the very least. After an easy victory, he would go on to slay the Flame Dragon and Ice Dragon for their respective Dark Dragon Stones. He finally confronts Obaba at the Isle of Destiny. Thanks to Ishitaros, she's able to transform into a fiend and battle Ryu one-on-one. Of course, he defeats her, but Momiji is nowhere to be found. After learning of her location from the sorceress, he sets out once more, slaying another powerful foe and obtaining yet another Dark Dragon Stone in the process. Ishitaros lies in wait for Ryu, but in true Hayabusa fashion, he goes to confront her and her surviving sister Nietzsche anyway. However, things take a turn as Ishitaros steals the Dark Dragon Stones from Ryu, revealing that she possesses the final stone in her crown. After fusing them, she channels the Dark Dragon's power and easily defeats the Master Ninja. Without the true Dragon Sword, Ishitaros would be unstoppable, just like the Dark Dragon's legend. Out of nowhere, Kureha's spirit appears, and with Momiji's help, they bring out the Eye of the Dragon and awaken the Dragon Sword to help Ryu. He subsequently defeats Ishitaros, but that's sadly not the end. Nietzsche is still alive, however, and takes her sister's corpse into hell. This time, the goal is to use the power of the Dark Dragon Stones to bring back the Vagur Emperor, but things go sideways, resulting in Ryu dispatching him once more. Nietzsche is next up to fight, while revealing that the Dark Dragon will return and signal the end of everything. After defeating her, the monstrosity finally emerges, and the climactic battle between the Dragon Ninja and the Dark Dragon unfolds once more. Fortunately, Ryu emerges victorious. He then returns to Hayabusa village, not under attack again, thankfully, with Momiji. We then cut to the latter collecting flowers with Sakura, Sanji, and the other children of the village as Ryu looks on happily. They all subsequently visit Kuroha's grave and leave the flowers while tearfully praying. As Momiji remembers her sister and their connection via the Eye of the Dragon, she swears to become stronger and turns to Ryu, telling him not to go easy on her this time, resuming their training session as the game ends. Despite some criticisms, much easier difficulty than Ninja Gaiden 1 and short playtime among the most significant, Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword received positive reviews overall and even won a few awards. The stylus-driven gameplay worked exceptionally well for both combat and movement, and using it to draw symbols for casting Ninpo was a nice touch. It also featured far less gore than the mainline series, in line with designer Tomonobu Itagaki's views on the handheld being more suitable for players of all ages, and obtaining a safer ESRB rating certainly didn't hurt its marketability either. Story-wise, the plot served as a nice epilogue. Not only did players get to battle the Dark Dragon, but they also saw Ryu redeem himself somewhat after failing to save Kuroha, protecting her sister instead. The part with Kuroha's spirit emerging to help them out directly was also heartwarming. Of course, other loose ends, like the continued survival of Ishitaros and Nick J after the first game's events, were also neatly resolved, and provided some measure of revenge for what they did to Rachel. The Black Spider Ninja Clan seemingly slunk back into the shadows, but don't worry, they'll re-emerge soon enough to cause trouble once more. While this seemed like a wrap on the Dark Dragon saga at the time, with its threats seemingly eliminated from the world, the marketing for Ninja Gaiden 4, which launches on October 21st, indicates otherwise. Its husk is still very much present and has drenched Tokyo in a malevolent rain. Yakumo of the Raven Clan seeks to destroy the Dark Dragon for his own ends, which puts him at odds with the Dragon Order, and none other than Ryu Hayabusa himself. Where will the journey ultimately lead him? We'll find out when it launches soon. But for now, Ryu's journey takes him to somewhere else entirely to face a new threat and once again preserve the state of the world. Despite arriving 4 years after the original, the sequel picks up about a year after Mirai's betrayal and the destruction of the Dark Dragon Blade. Between the events of Dragon Sword and the Vampire War, a comic in which Ryu fights against the vampire fiend Crimson, the Dragon Ninja had kept busy. At the latter's end, Momiji reveals that the Black Spider Ninja Clan is heading to Tokyo. It's unknown exactly why, but being directly opposed to the Hayabusa clan and having dealings with fiends, which spurred their own hunt for the Dark Dragon Blade in the first game, Ryu is keen to know what's going on.
They were minions of the Black Spider clan.
Indeed they were. We haven't heard from them in a while.
Who was the woman?
You don't know her? Neither do I. You couldn't save her? She was looking for you. She said it was about the Archfiend.
Arriving in Tokyo, a CIA agent named Sonya steps into a shop owned by the legendary weaponsmith Muramasa, seeking Ryu. The Black Spider clan suddenly ambushes her, but before they can deal the killing blow, Ryu swoops in to save her. Well, sort of. They still make off with Sonya, leaving Ryu to deal with their foot soldiers, venturing through the city's buildings, slaying Black Spider clan members left and right, and even jumping from one building to another. He finally arrives on a rooftop to see Sonya taken away by a mysterious woman. This time, Ryu saves her and learns that the Black Spider Ninja Clan wants to attack Hayabusa village to retrieve the demon statue, which was used in the Vigor Empire's palace from the first game. Why? Well, to revive the archfiend Vazda, of course. Originating from Vigor, Vazda has been around for a long time. It wasn't until the four fiend rulers clashed in a massive war for control of Earth that he would reawaken, corrupting a human named Dagradai into his loyal servant. Such was his power that he forced the fiend rulers to bow to his might, enslaving and corrupting humanity. Of course, when evil like this roams unchecked, the dragon lineage rises to stop it, and sure enough, the Dragon Ninja would defeat, but not kill, Vazda and his lackeys. The location was created somewhere in the depths of the South American Amazon, which serves to unseal the Archfiend. With the Vigor Empire dead, Dagradai would become the next prominent power figure among the fiends. He tasks Elizabeth, member and leader of the Four Greater Fiends, with retrieving the demon statue and ushering in Vazda's return. She works with the Black Spider Ninja Clan led by Genshin, and attacks Hayabusa village to retrieve it.
Do you understand what this means.
The Archfiend quickens.
The tantrums of the Archfiend never concerned me. All paths before me are cruel and arduous. Our time has come. Your life.
Of course, none of them likely accounted for Ryu's return. After defeating numerous enemies and making his way to the Castle of the Dragon, he arrives to find his father Joe Hayabusa injured after a battle against Genshin. As Elizabeth steals the statue, Ryu battles Genshin and appears evenly matched. Joe intervenes and tasks Ryu with retrieving the statue, which requires venturing to New York City. Alexei, another greater fiend, has been awakened, and as a result, the Big Apple has become overrun with fiends. Ryu takes them all out, defeating 2 fiends, before meeting up with Sonya. Flying in a helicopter, they arrive at the Statue of Liberty. Eventually, Ryu goes up against Alexei and defeats him in an intense battle. But there's no trace of Elizabeth or the demon statue. The next stop? Aqua City in Italy, where werewolves and the water dragon roam free, causing chaos. Battling through the werewolf's castle, he eventually encounters Wolf, the 3rd greater fiend of Vazda, and fights him in a coliseum to the death. Wolf is defeated and Ryu escapes with some help from Sonya.
Do you wish his blood spilled? Who do you wish to see destroyed? Yes, Wolf, invincible ruler of storms.
Their next lead takes them to the skies, more specifically, the Black Spider Ninja Clan's airship Daedalus. By now, you know the drill, as Ryu massacres his way through the Black Spider forces before encountering Genshin. They fight once more, but the result is postponed again after the Daedalus goes down. Ryu manages to escape and alongside the airship's remains, ends up somewhere in Russia. He reunites with Sonya, but decides to leave her behind and enter Moscow to battle against Zidonius, the 4th greater fiend of Vazda. Despite overwhelming number of fiends and Black Spider Ninja Clan enemies, he emerges victorious. As for Elizabeth, she's in the same Amazon forest. Ryu finds his way there and, despite some opposition, seemingly corners her before she escapes. She proceeds to transform into her greater fiend form and also reveals that Dagra Dai currently possesses the statue. Ryu defeats her and, interestingly enough, is told by Genshin that the Vazda's actual location is in Mount Fuji. If he wants to stop the Archfiend's revival, he must go there, but that also means battling Genshin once more. After returning to Hayabusa Village and obtaining the Eye of the Dragon from Ayane to awaken the Dragon Sword's full power once more, Ryu ventures to Mount Fuji, slaying numerous enemies along the way and clashing with Genshin, finally defeating him. With Vazda's revival at hand, Mount Fuji effectively serves as a gateway to the underworld. Ryu descends further. Numerous fiends await, including the 4 greater fiends who's even kidnapped Sonya. Ryu saves her once more and encounters Genshin, who's been corrupted into a fiend, and they engage in one last battle. Defeated once again, Genshin bestows the Blade of the Archfiend to Ryu, who ventures forth to stop Vazda's awakening. Though successful in his battle against Dagra Dai, the latter sacrifices himself, resulting in the revival of Vazda. Ryu clashes against the Archfiend, but despite initially emerging victorious and escaping with Sonya, he's revived by a single inadvertent drop of blood. On the summit of Mount Fuji, he battles Ryu with the Dragon Ninja winning out, even as the Archfiend explodes spectacularly. Sonya eventually finds Ryu, who survived the ordeal, and the world is safe from Vazda once more. Sometime later, Ryu ventures to the Black Spider Ninja Clan's graveyard, where its many deceased warriors lie. He places Genshin's Blade of the Archfiend, a sign of respect between the adversaries, but after walking a short distance away, who else should show up behind him but Kasumi? Lest you think this is the perfect moment for a betrayal, Ryu has assisted Kasumi ever since she left the Mugen Tenshin Ninja Clan to avenge her brother Hayate. For now, he says that darkness is destined to lift in the end, and that he still has much left to do before leaving. And that's the end of Ninja Gaiden 2. Overall, it's a more straightforward narrative than the first game, but it does offer up a pretty compelling villain in the form of Vazda and his 4 greater fiends. Ryu's character arc is less about moving past revenge and ultimately living up to his destiny as the Dragon Ninja, but shows him in a more composed role as the successor to the Hayabusa clan. He shows less weakness overall, and yet seeing him calmly yet relentlessly pursue Elizabeth and ultimately stopping the Archfiend without any hesitation feels a natural progression of his character. Though it didn't receive as extensive acclaim as Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden 2 was still praised and sold well enough. He would return once more, but this time in the controversial and much reviled Ninja Gaiden 3. How do you kill a franchise? No, don't ask why you would even want to do that, just consider that it's an option, if not a clear and present risk, as with any video game. While it may have seemed unlikely for Ninja Gaiden 3, launching 4 years after its predecessor, it was the first game in the series that didn't involve designer Tomonobu Itagaki. Concerning, but he left the company shortly after Ninja Gaiden 2. Surely Team Ninja knew what fans wanted: the same level of blood, gore, and carnage, potential new mechanics, new enemies and bosses, and the high-speed combat with its high skill floor that made the first 2 games such masterpieces. But it wasn't to be, unfortunately. Ninja Gaiden 3 launched in 2012 for PS3 and Xbox 360 and received the worst reviews of the trilogy, with a 58 Metascore on both platforms. Some outlets criticized the lack of challenge, accentuated by the lack of depth in gameplay and combat. Others criticized new features like multiplayer, whether it was co-op or competitive deathmatch, and the lack of dismemberment. Then there's the story, which is a whole other disaster. It is canon, however, so the only real question to ask is, just what exactly happened?
Of course I'm an illusion, as is all existence. Nothing more than a collection of data points, resonating in infinite expansion. But enough. The time for talk is at an end. War and strife is your fate. Death, your duty. Or am I wrong?
Picking up after Ninja Gaiden 2, Ryu Hayabusa embarks on a new mission to deal with the Regent of the Mask. The alchemist leads a terrorist organization, and Mizuki McCloud of the Japanese Self-Defense Force requests the Master Ninja's help to eliminate him. However, their first meeting doesn't really go so well for Hayabusa, as he unwillingly becomes a recipient of the grip of murder. Feeding on the lives of those he killed, it's capable of unleashing a powerful attack after slaying enemies and absorbing their remains. But in the story, it's slowly corrupting Ryu, having spread through his right arm. With the Dragon Sword also absorbed into his arm, he returns to the JSDF. The Regent then demands that the world surrender to his group in 7 days, lest they wreak havoc and destruction. After obtaining the Jinran Maru from Ayane, despite belonging to the Mugen Tenshin clan, Hayate decided to bestow it upon his friendly rival. Weapon in hand, Ryu sets out to pursue the Regent of the Mask. Battling past his minions, the two eventually meet again, with the Regent revealing the Dragon Sword is a core part of the curse and that it will eventually kill him. After battling an attack helicopter and getting badly wounded, he returns to Mizuki and subsequently meets Kana, her daughter, and Cliff Higgins, her brother-in-law. As it turns out, the Regent is part of the Lords of Alchemy. Ryu ventures to Abismo Island to find the Regent but finds himself against, no joke, dinosaurs. Having slain a Gigantosaurus, Ryu sees Mizuki taken hostage and thus surrenders. Despite killing her captors, she seemingly betrays him, knocking him out with a trank. He subsequently meets with Lovelace, who works for the Lords of Alchemy and uses a VR simulator to make him revisit past battles. Eventually, Ryu escapes and locates Kana, then sets forth to locate Mizuki. The Regent causes Lovelace to transform into a monstrosity, but Ryu defeats her and escapes with Mizuki and her daughter, only for the United States forces to appear and arrest them. Ordered to stop, Ryu makes his way back to Hayabusa Village, but decides to stop by the Black Spider graveyard in the meantime, eventually arriving at Genshin's grace. He then picks up the blade of the Archfiend, paying tribute to his deceased adversary, and sets out. Various Black Spider ninjas appear to impede him, and eventually, he collapses due to the grip of murder's effects. Discovered by Sanji, he's taken to Momiji for care. After nursing his wounds, they venture to meet Ryu Hayabusa, battling more Black Spider Ninja Clan members along the way. Eventually, it's revealed that Obaba, the sorceress and a key antagonist in Dragon Sword, is alive. They engage in battle and Ryu slays her once more, carrying an injured Momiji to meet Joe, who sadly reveals that he doesn't know how to lift the grip of murder. Despite the Dragon Sword's status, those slain by it created a curse that would continuously affect the clan, including an ancestor who was destroyed by it. Returning to JSDF, Ryu teams with Cliff on a mission to Antarctica. Upon battling troops for the Lords of Alchemy, he eventually discovers fiends, which the group has created for its own nefarious purposes. If that wasn't enough, they also created Epigonos, a fiend version of Ryu which he defeats. Shock of shocks, Cliff is part of the Lords of Alchemy, and his grandfather Ashtier is the chairman who can effect the grip of murder. Fighting a revived and more dangerous Epigonos, Ryu slays it and once more pursues the duo, who seeks to conduct experiments on Kana. Despite losing them, he knows where they're headed: the Black Narwhal.
Can't die on me again. Only a little ways to go. I'll be waiting on the Black Narwhal.
After learning that Kana is missing from Ken Ishigami, the Japanese Secretary of Defense, Ryu decides to save her by traversing from one jet to another in mid-air. Don't ask, I don't know. He arrives at the Black Narwhal fleet and battles the Lords of Alchemy. Eventually, he goes up against Ashtier and defeats him, but it's too late as Kana fuses with the mysterious egg, the same used to transform Lovelace. Seeing the Regent with her, Ryu battles and defeats him, eventually learning that he's Theodore Higgins, Kana's father. As it turns out, he was killed by Cliff, then revived with his memories wiped and controlled via the mask, with AI of course. Cliff removes the Dragon Sword from Ryu's body, claiming it's now purified, and tosses it at Kana, resulting in the revelation of the final boss. With the Dragon Sword in hand, the boss destroys the Black Narwhal. Meanwhile, Ryu, trapped in an ethereal space, is visited by Genshin. He subsequently awakens on a JSDF ship next to Mizuki and expresses his wish to save Kana, who's now laying waste to Tokyo. However, even with the Dragon Sword, the possibility of defeating the boss is low since Kana isn't evil. Ryu and Mizuki set out regardless, running into a mutated version of Cliff. Fortunately, Theodore appears and helps them out, remembering his past and teaming with Ryu to save Kana, which lasts for all but a few minutes as he betrays Ryu since the Blade of the Archfiend is the only weapon that can defeat the boss. After defeating Theodore, the latter removes the grip of murder while tasking Ryu with saving his daughter. Removing his mask, Ryu goes up against the final boss, fighting until the Dragon Sword and Blade of the Archfiend are destroyed. Somehow, the Dragon Sword is restored to Ryu and he awakens it with the Eye of the Dragon to defeat the final boss. Kana is saved, though semi-conscious, and after ensuring her safety, he leaves. After mulling with Ishigami about the nature of being a ninja, Ryu departs once more, hopefully into a better video game, and that's the full story of Ninja Gaiden 3. Razor's Edge would arrive several months later for the Wii U and on PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2013, making characters like Ayame playable in her own mission chain, but otherwise retaining the same story. Ryu's next adventure was, surprisingly, the mobile phone title in Ninja Gaiden X, but it's little more than a prologue for Ninja Gaiden on the NES. Time will tell what awaits the Dragon Ninja in Ninja Gaiden 4, but one thing is for sure, after the mess that was Ninja Gaiden 3, things can only go up from here. And that's it, the complete story of Ninja Gaiden, from beginning to end. The saga will continue with Ninja Gaiden 4, where the spotlight won't rest solely on Ryu Hayabusa this time, but will also shine a light on newcomer Yakumo, and we can't wait to see how their paths intertwine. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.